less concerned at that point.
You know, Phil, he uses the skip a stone thing there, and again, I guess, is that what happens, is you're kind of skipping and you're waiting to burn off a little bit? Because when the rock finally sinks in, you guys have burned off a lot of that energy.
It's actually even, it's more correct than it is an analogy too. I think people don't realize that this stuff around us and liquids are fluids, and so there actually is a lot of alignment in how they behave with each other.
Right.
And so when you are skipping off the atmosphere, it is quite similar to skipping a rock.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's intriguing for a lot of people because they were talking about coming back into the atmosphere, and I think Earth's atmosphere, correct me if I'm wrong, was at roughly 400,000 feet was when it got into.
That's exactly right.
So you're at 400,000 feet when you're coming back into Earth's atmosphere, and you're bouncing a little bit, right? And they know this. They know exactly what's going on, and they've got to kind of have the right trajectory, and then they know it's going to be silent. So their families have got to be sitting there for 6+ minutes just on pins and needles.
And they make it look so easy. This really went incredibly well. But in truth, behind the scenes, in these reviews and these qualification exams, the margin for error is not very large. These vehicles have to be light, and so you don't have a lot of room to make them super thick, to make them be able to withstand anything. And in fact, the whole concept behind the bladed heat shield is that some of it actually changes permanently.
Wow. I want to push forward if I can here. I want to play this sound. This is from former NASA Chief Technologist Les Johnson. He's talking about missions going forward here.
Don't forget, this is a test flight. I mean, we had the uncrewed test flight of Artemis 1. The purpose of this was to put people in it, to make sure all the systems worked with people and they can do their science and bring them home safely so that we can then go to the next Artemis mission, demonstrate the rendezvous and docking capabilities in orbit, and then it's back to the surface. All of these will be test missions for enabling us eventually to have that moon base that I, for one, have been dreaming about since I was about 10 years old.
Yeah, a lot of people are dreaming about this, Jose, and I guess it gives you a little bit more confidence, or it gives a lot of people more confidence that maybe these things can be a bit expedited, right? Maybe these are going to go right on time when we get the next Artemis 3 up there, and it docks with the lunar lander, and boy, before we know it, we're back on the moon.
Yes, and you got to remember that the first time we went, it was purely political. We wanted to beat the Russians to the surface of the moon. Our technology was a bit more primitive, significantly more primitive, because our phone has more computational power than the whole Apollo system did back in the 60s. And so now you fast forward today, 53 years since we've been to the moon. Our technology is to the point where we can actually go to the surface of the moon, create a habitat, a new lunar economy as a test bed for testing new technologies that will ultimately allow us to travel to Mars and beyond. And that's exciting, establishing that lunar base, getting different countries involved, getting different corporations, companies involved in the development and solving our technical challenges that we need to solve to get us to Mars and beyond.
Yeah, when he talks about Mars and beyond, you hear a lot of critics, Dylan, will say, we should have been to Mars by now. It's been 50 years. America has just been, running in place. What do you say to those critics?
I think they forget that the amount of learning we did during the Apollo era was to understand how to land on a foreign body. And at some point, we understood it. But it's difficult then to say, okay, let's have you stay there. And so a lot of the aspect of the shuttle, and Jose can certainly speak a lot more to this, having experienced it firsthand,
Right.
Is the ability to stay in space for long periods of time. And what's beautiful about now is we understand how to do this, at least on a year-long, multi-month basis, and we know how to land on the moon and other bodies. Let's combine the two.
Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Jose, because that's exactly right. We have this knowledge now about staying in space. We know how to do it. It's kind of that kind of instructive stuff that gives us the wherewithal to be able to do what we did the past 10 days.
Yes, but you gotta remember, back in the sixties,
Better watch
we
one
used
show and I'll
a
be in
larger
your pack.
percentage
Yeah.
of our
See my
national
cord here
budget
for my phone?
for space
No.
exploration.
Good start.
Today's budget is a fraction of that, and even now the administration
How much
is
is it
talking
worth
about
to you?
cutting the NASA budget yet again.
You wanna
And
give
so
me your
for us to
rings?
stay on schedule,
Oh,
I think the administrator's gonna have to
Do I have to do everything
consider
around here?
retiring the space station early so he could redirect
Most
those funds
everything.
for the lunar base development project that they're
I
gonna
put my
embark
rings on
on.
in case I win.
Yeah, but we've
At
also
least you
got other help.
appreciate
I
it.
mean, you've got, you
I
look
do
at Elon
appreciate
Musk,
it.
and
I feel sorry
when you
for
talk
Cam,
about
too.
maybe building a base on the moon, Dylan, we've got other outlets NASA didn't have, 50 years ago. Now there's other ways of building
Okay.
things on the
I'll
moon.
see you in a little
We're
bit.
working with SpaceX for the human landing system, and then we have Blue Origin with the Blue Moon lander. And so instead of it being all part of this Saturn V vehicle that we had during the Apollo days, now we're able to rendezvous with those respective systems, which are in some cases even more modern and are able to capitalize on their respective expertise.
Yeah, it really is interesting. I wanted to play this because this is the astronaut Christina Koch, not just very good at plumbing and that kind of stuff. She was talking about what the mission meant to her, and she said the following here.
I will miss this camaraderie. I will miss being this close with this many people and having a common purpose, a common mission. I don't think there's anything I would say I won't miss or that I'm just ready to be over, because this whole thing is a package. We can't explore deeper unless we are doing a few things that are inconvenient.
Yeah, I mean, she's right. This thing has generated great enthusiasm at a time when America could use, a little bit of a boost, Jose. And you look at what's happened over the past 10 days and the interest in this, it really is phenomenal.
Well, look at Trace. What inspired me to become an astronaut was watching the very last Apollo mission, Gene Cernan walking on the moon. Imagine how many little girls are going to be inspired by looking at Christina going around the moon. Eventually, we're going back to the moon. So I'm very excited for the future of space exploration, for future scientists, future astronauts, and man, this is going to be great.
Yeah, it really is. He's right because over the years we've had Buzz Aldrin here in the studio many times, and he sits down and he tells you these stories, Dylan, and you think if you had a chance to go and do it all over again, you'd become an astronaut. Who wouldn't become an astronaut, right? When you listen to what's happening and you go through what's happening, you're like, that's what you need to do.
And it's so nice also being able to hop on YouTube or anywhere and see it in such high resolution today. It's convenient. It's going to make it very easy for everyone to potentially look at space as a place they want to visit, live, work.
Yeah, and it really is a moment of history. And so before we take a break, I want to play. This is historian Rod Pyle. He said this.
It's great to feel this momentum that with so many false starts, this has taken a long time. Parts of this system have been under development since the early 2000s, since 2004. But we finally see the culmination of these efforts. I think Isaac is a tremendous new administrator. Been to space twice, gets it, young, successful entrepreneur, and I think he's really injected new energy into the program, and people feel that, including those on the flight.
Yeah, because really, you don't have energy and you don't have this kind of push behind you from the country, Dylan. It's really hard to get the momentum you need and the money
Well,
you need
I
to
had
be
you
able
on
to
mine
continue
too, and Jude
to
said, don't you
infinity
think
and
it's too
beyond.
late to call her?
We're
I
seeing right
said,
now with
well, I'm going to try.
these new ideas that are allowing us to potentially capture a lot of these
I
goals.
climbed into bed.
The reorienting of Artemis 3 into a rendezvous mission, the paving the way for Artemis 4 is a great idea.
Yeah, it really is. Jose, to you, when the historians talk about how much this mission means to the future, to the funding, to the momentum, what would you say to add to that?
But you're going to have to say the name. That's the whole point.
I know you.
We don't have
I'm just,
We lost his audio. So
I'm just so
maybe pick up
thrilled.
while we're getting Jose's
so
audio
thrilled.
back in
And
there.
the other
Do
one
we have
came from
Jose?
the neighbor next door too, so.
No, we don't.
One more time.
I saw how pretty it was, and I thought, oh, I'm just so glad we got that.
When you talk
Because it was a
this is
pretty
live
little
look, by the way. This is the
child.
Pacific Ocean. It's 60 miles outside nautical
Well, it's a
miles
nice
off
size
San
too, but
Diego.
it's
This is
pretty.
where
It's
they
got
bring. You
that
see a couple of helicopters out there
daintiness about
because
it.
you had one helicopter, by the way, just to explain this.
It's
You had one
got
helicopter that
junior
picked up two
written all
astronauts.
over it.
You had another helicopter that picked up two more astronauts after they came out of the capsule. It is our understanding now that all of the astronauts are now aboard there waiting for another helicopter flight to go to San Diego. And when they get that flight, they will have the choice of either staying in San Diego or continuing on to Houston. I think the consensus is that it's going to be late when they stay in San Diego, and as Jonathan
You
Serra
might
was
put
saying,
it one
they go
place
back
for
and they meet
a
their
while,
families
and
in
then you
Houston
might switch it to
tomorrow at
another
some
place.
point in time. That's kind of the live look we are looking
You
for.
know.
We are also awaiting the news conference on Artemis 2. That will happen. We understand.
Well, I just got through filming the
But what we're talking
daggone
about here, Dylan,
thing
is the
that
momentum, right? We
the
need this
astronauts were
enthusiasm.
in.
The
I filmed the
historians
whole
really need
thing.
to come forth and say, hey,
Believe it or not,
this was great.
2
and
hours
here's why
long.
it was great. Here's why so
And
many
I
people
got
are
on
excited
film,
about this.
and it's
this
still on right
kind
now,
of
so
push is
I'm
what
having
what
Jude
we
tape it
need
right
to
now
make
for me
sure
so I
that
can
the
fill
Elon
out.
Musks of the world and the
I
other,
got all of
companies
it from the
and
astronauts
you know,
until
the
the
U.S.
time they were
citizens are saying, yeah,
put
let's do
on the
this.
ship.
Let's push to get to
And,
Mars.
And it's also showing us what the rights
and
of
then they're
prayers
just now
is,
talking
and
about
how
it while
much
they're on the ship, so
conservatism should we put
I'll have
into
to
these
put
missions.
that on tomorrow.
Yeah, it really is. Jose, we
But I got the whole thing
game
they
back?
did on
Your
getting
what?
him out of the water
No,
and
okay, we don't have
everything,
it
you
back.
know. And
Okay, so
it's
we
quite
look at this, and
interesting.
I want to kind of explain
And,
how this went off. So for those who didn't see this, we've
Yeah.
got some of the video, and all the video
And all
if
the
you can.
footage
Are we
was
gonna
very
take a break,
pretty,
by
you
the
know,
way?
doing
Are we
it
gonna take a break first?
on the ocean
Not
there,
yet.
and
Okay.
coming
So
back in
what's
and
happening
everything.
here is you've got
I got it.
the ship that is out 60 miles, and it's splashed
Oh,
down.
yeah, it's a
The
big
ship
piece
has
of
been
history.
out there for a while. It maintained about a 1.5 to 2
Right.
mile distance away from the actual capsule. And then
All
the
of my
divers, the Navy
YouTube channel,
divers
and
were
then I'm
out there
gonna put it on
immediately because
Facebook
what
too.
they do, as you can see,
So,
they put the flotation
and then I
around
put
the
on a
capsule,
special
just like
little
they used
thing
to do in the
for,
old days. And then they go in, and you have a
the
medical
fella
team
running
that
for,
goes in to kind of observe all
running
of the
for,
astronauts to make sure they're
senator.
okay. In fact, we talked to a former astronaut
I
who said that when you splash
put a
down,
little
and maybe
picture
you
I
can
had
add
of
to
him
this, Dylan,
and
when
his
you
wife
splash
and me
down,
together,
what happens
the
is
three
that
of us.
motion of going up in the
And,
ocean is one of those things
I
that,
put
that
that
a
up,
lot,
and then I
a
sit
lot
out
of
on the front
astronauts over
porch,
the years have
and
gotten
I
sick
filmed the
because of
front
that
porch with
seasickness
me
right away.
sitting there, singing my old Kentucky home party. And I said, oh, put that out on there. Thank you. And I think you'll like it real well. I haven't had even a chance to look at it, see whether he said anything or not, but I know he'll like
It
it.
really is. And so
Because people will like it, and Rich and Rory was,
and then they put the
things that I
floats
do around
around
him, and then
the capsule so that it
I had
stays
not only
upright, and then they
pictures
check.
that they had, but
The
I had
medical
these
team goes
pictures,
in and checks to
this
make
picture,
sure they're
beautiful
away, make
picture
sure
of
that
my
there's
own
not
up in
one
my
more
office of him and
the
his
other
wife,
astronaut that needs a
and Mackenzie was her
priority
name,
lift
and,
out of the capsule,
and,
then onto the boat,
with his
and
wife
then they bring them out, they put
and
them on a
myself
float
in
raft,
the picture
and
with
then
them.
the float raft leads to the
I was real
helicopter, and the
thrilled that it
helicopter will
saved
take
that
them
big
back
picture.
to the ship,
Jude took a
and then
picture
they
of it
pick
for
up
me,
the last two, and
fixed
it's
it
the
up
same
real
process
nice.
all over again.
She
You
took
just
a
saw
picture
video
for me,
of the astronauts
fixed
taking
it up real
pictures
nice,
with members
and I
of
took
the
it
crew
and
aboard the ship,
posted it
and
with
so
my,
it kind of goes back
but
and
that
forth
was
on
what
and
I
off
posted
like
on
this for
Facebook
the
and
better
YouTube.
part of maybe
So,
2.5 hours.
I
We
did
still
too.
haven't gotten word yet as if to hear if the astronauts
I
have
did
been
a
lifted
grizzly beef and the whole thing, and
the
I sit on the
and
front
going
porch
back
for
to San
probably
Diego.
2
We
hours,
assume that will happen sometime
and
very
did
soon.
all of
If
that,
it
and,
hasn't happened already, but the live
and
pictures showed the helicopter still there. So my
just
guess
tried
is
to,
that they have not
tried
left yet.
to, since I couldn't be there in person, I tried to be there in spirit,
60 miles off the
Yeah.
coast of California.
you know.
Santa Catalina is
And I'm sure he was thrilled with it
Los
because,
Angeles and where
you
they
know,
are. And that's thanks to
it's,
our precision for the ability to enter right where we want them to.
Yeah.
he knows that I
and
support him,
to
so
be able
that's
to
good.
get onto land so quickly.
Yeah,
That's
it
good.
really is. It's kind of crazy. And they were talking
You know,
about
and
today,
I don't know
which
what
I
he'll
also
wish.
found fascinating, Dylan. They were talking about the concept of of coming down, right?
I told him I
And you
can't give you
see the
any
three
money,
parachutes, you see them
but
come
I
go
can
up,
give you
goes
some
through time,
talent
so
and
everything is
put
floating
this on
down.
my
It almost
YouTube
looks like
channel
we're
and
going back in
Facebook
time. So we
page,
haven't seen that. We haven't seen that
and
in 50 plus
if
years.
somebody films
I mean,
it
you know,
for you
my
and you wanna
kids are
bring it
watching
over
this,
to me,
they're
I'll put the
caught
whole
by
film
it.
on.
But nobody has
But I
seen
just
that
couldn't get
kind
there
of development
physically.
in 50 plus
Too much
years.
for me to do, and I couldn't find anybody that
was
would,
already proven out so long
pick
ago.
me up,
And if it's not broken,
and
don't
break me.
fix it. And
It was too
it still
dangerous.
has a lot of that moving process
No,
where
I
it
can
uses
only do so
detonation
much.
to open up the
Can only do so much.
cases.
Yeah, which is
So,
interesting, right? Because you look, the capsule looks like an
that's one of the
Apollo
reasons I
capsule.
wanted to go
It
ahead
looks
and
like the
film
same
the
thing. It looks like we had
astronauts
just
too,
went back
because
in
that was
time,
really
and the pickup is
something
the
that
same.
school
You see the
kids
Navy
can
going.
use,
I guess if it works, don't fix it, right?
2 hours
So
of it,
that's kind
that's
of
a
the
lot of
concept
it.
here. You
That'll keep
tried
the
and
kids
true
busy for a while.
is tried and true.
It really is, and like
Oh, it's
even
hard work.
even with the Artemis
It's
1
hard
and
work.
Artemis 2 mission,
It's loading up right now. I got
try to
2 hours and
change the
25 minutes loading up.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Don't make changes
And
when
so,
you find
and then
success.
as soon as it's loaded up
Earth's
there on the
atmosphere. So
YouTube,
you
then I'll
kind
go
of
out
you
there.
go and you do
I'll go in there later
more
tonight,
this Earth's atmosphere.
load it up to
As we talked about, the
Facebook.
re-entrance happens at
It'll
400,000
take all
feet,
night to
right?
get it onto
And this
Facebook.
thing is going at the time of re-entrance, this thing, or just after it
No,
re-enters,
once I
it is
got it
going
loaded up, it'll load up by itself. So that's all I can do.
661 miles per hour,
But it
which
takes a while to get all that
for
done. The
lack of a
hardest
better
part's getting it all
way of
filmed.
describing this, about
And then
12
loading it
times
up,
faster
you
than a
gotta go
commercial
through.
airline is going when it's at 35,000 feet.
You
It's
gotta
also
film it,
about,
actually film it,
40
and
times
then you
higher
gotta
than a
take
commercial airline
take
flying at
your camera
35,000 feet.
and make sure you got enough
The
space to
John
get
D.
all that
Murtha, which
space.
is the
Because I had
ship
to
right
clean my
here,
whole,
is
a lot
still
of
a
things.
mile and a half away.
I had to
Doesn't
clean
move.
off
But
about
the
50
Navy,
gigabytes
the
of
boats
stuff
and the things, they're
in
in
order
the
to have
water
enough.
hours and hours and hours ahead of time
You had to
because they've
take it
got
off,
to take some. They want to make
exit,
sure
and
that
go
all
through
the
it, and get
conditions
all of
are
it off.
correct for landing.
It takes you a couple hours to do it,
The
to
current
clean it
line is
all
at
off.
100 kilometers
You know,
or 330,000
and then you
feet
got
above our atmosphere.
clean it off.
And we say that
Delete,
the entry
delete,
is about
delete, then you go
400,000
back
feet
and
just
delete it all.
beyond that carbon line.
So
And
it
once
all
you're in
goes.
that zone,
I hate to give it up, some of it I hate to delete
by
because you like to keep it,
particles
but
that eventually
you can
slow
only got
down
so much space on your phone.
until
And
you're
that's the most I
The
ever.
Navy helicopters are two Navy Seahawk MH-60 helicopters. They are the ones that transport the astronauts from the capsule back to the ship you're seeing now. And
You
then
open
from
it
the
up to
ship
settings.
back to San Diego.
You open it up to
That
settings,
happens, we think,
and
very
then,
soon. And then they can
or where
kind
you
of
go
move
to
on to
see
the
a
news
film,
conference. We were
you know,
talking earlier about the possibility of maybe
and when you
having
open it
an
up,
astronaut,
and you see all
maybe
your
having a few
pictures there, or
astronauts,
your
and I think
videos
that
there.
got shut down pretty
Then
quickly
if you
because
want
the
to erase
astronauts
some
are
of them, you go
not
up and
in
hit
the
X.
front. They get
And then you
testing
go
to
down
through,
and
they
put
get
an X
medical
mark by
examinations to go
each
through.
one you
They've got a
want to erase.
checklist to go
Now
through
just
before
remember,
they can,
don't X, put an X by the ones you want to keep.
before they're going to be,
Because you'll erase them
from
all.
the meeting.
one thing though that
If you, where you put the X back.
is the lack
You,
of quarantine.
you go down and include all the ones you want to include that you want to erase, but the way you include them is an X. You put a little X up in the corner. You do that, the ones you want to take off. Now, if you don't want to take it off, if you don't put anything there, then when you get down and get enough, you want to get them all that you want to
How
do.
do we do that?
Then you
I mean,
just
I'm
go
sure
down
they've all
and
raised their hands
at,
saying,
at the
I'll go
bottom
again,
of it,
I'll
it
go
says
again. But what's the
delete,
policy?
and that deletes all the ones that you got
48
X's
active
by.
members, and the
You know, like today, I had 580 X's by
and
things.
there will be
580
to
X's.
rotate, but
And a lot of them were idiots, but I just had to take them off.
experience that might
They
be
fill your
useful
phone up, you
over just
see.
3 or 4.
Right, yeah, and is that do you
So,
move up?
it allowed me
you
to
had
do
the
all
commander
this
that
filming
does,
that I
does
did.
maybe the
So,
commander
but then
move
when I
on,
get
or
this
can
all
just
done
somebody move
filming,
up to become
then
commander?
I'll
How
take
does
all
that-
this
how does the
off.
hierarchy
Because
work for
those-
that?
I'll have it on
Certainly there
YouTube
could be
and Facebook, you
a new
see.
person that comes in who has probably flown to space before,
Yeah.
who could become commander for the next mission.
Busy bee.
Really just remarkable stuff here. It's remarkable because this thing started 10 days ago, and the thing went flawless. And when we were talking to the astronauts on the second night that they were there, and they were still trying to figure out, the microphone, and I'm not sure if we have any video
Yeah,
of that.
you want to
but
get
the
rid of some
microphone, we were
copies of it.
talking to them, and they dropped the microphone, you didn't have to handing somebody, you just drop it and it floats. So
Yeah.
this is during our interview, right? And the microphone they would hand, no, they didn't hand it, they just drop it and then someone would pick it up because it's just floating right in front of them. And
So
you
then
see,
you,
we were talking with Christina Koch, and she was saying the first night was really hard because she slept upside down. She had to kind of sleep
right.
upside down, and she, you know,
Well,
she
you
was
go
trying to get,
up
she
the
was
right
trying to
hand
get
corner.
herself in a better position. But
You go up the
sometimes
right hand
you gotta
corner
get
and you
used to
hit
that
the
stuff.
little
Your
X
orientation doesn't really
thing,
matter. When you're in
and then you go down and pick out the ones you want to
feels
put the
weight as
X
everything
by.
feels right side up to
If you
you.
put an X by them, they'll
Once
be
you're able to
deleted
get your
when you hit the
stimulus
delete
system,
thing.
essentially
But
the fluid for your
put your
ears
X
to tell
by
you
the
that
ones you want to
can
do, and then go through and make sure you don't put an X by the one you
The
want to
National
keep.
Space Society
You know,
CEO and Chairman Carlton
the
Johnson, he's
pictures you
joining
want
the
to keep
show
from the
now. We're
videos
still
you want to
working on
keep.
getting Jose's
But
microphone
put the
back up.
X's just
Mr.
by the
Johnson,
ones you
thank
want to
you
get
for
rid
coming
of.
on. I'd
And
like to
then
get
after you get down
I'd
far
like to
enough,
get
you
your
got
take
enough of
on
you want to
what
get
you
rid of
thought
them.
of the mission.
Then you go down to the
And,
bottom
you know, what
and
stood out to
you
you
hit
about
delete.
this?
And then it'll delete the ones that you got X's by.
I remember
And then you go up and you hit again.
went and landed on the moon. I was a
Well, you open it up and make sure you get,
when I watched that,
there's
I
two
thought,
places
this
where
is something I want to
you
do.
can
And
delete them
looking
permanently.
at this
Then too.
today, I
And then
almost had
you go over and
flashbacks to
delete
that
them
moment.
permanently.
It's a moment of
Well,
not only national
you,
pride,
you got
but
30 days
international pride.
to you can
And
retrieve
from my
them.
perspective, the thing that's really
No,
cool
you
about
can
this
retrieve them.
is it's not just that we went to the moon.
You got
We've
30
been there,
days you
done
can
that.
go to
We're
retrieve
going
them.
back,
But
and we're going to stay. And this
yeah,
is all
retrieve the
about
pictures after
continuing
deleting
the
it
mission.
again.
This is about taking the next
Right.
step. And so the thing that stood out most to me was
But
the
that's the
fact that
story.
not only we're going back, but we're going to see more of these in our lifetime, and I'm really excited.
And I wonder,
Visit me.
Carlton, if you know, when you talk about international pride, I think there might be a, you know, a fair bit somewhere around the world, a bit of acrimony that the United States is going back to the moon, and they're not.
Yeah, you know, and you know, I am an American, so I do have American pride with this. But putting on my NSS hat and my international hat, this is not just about the United States. Yeah, we did it, and I'm very proud we did it.
Yeah, well,
We
that's
did it with
good.
Canadian partners, which shows
Taking
you we have to do
a
this as a
place at a
team.
time at a
But at the end
time.
of the day,
You know,
when we
put
go, we
it
have to
in
hold
one
this
place
team
and
first. That's what
leave
this is
it
really
there
all
for
about.
a couple of months and then
People know
you like to move
space
to
is hard.
someplace else
Space
and try it
will
out.
So
As long
we
as
have to
God's willing to
go as a
rehang it,
unified team.
you know.
And with everything we've seen from the International Space Station to this mission, it just proves that when we work together, we can do and accomplish great things. So,
Judas
yeah,
Lynn.
there may be some acrimony out there. There's always acrimony about people being first. We'll get over that, and I think people will just celebrate the success.
Yeah, and it was successful. I mean, everybody can agree on that.
You
And I
might have to
wonder
talk
if that
Donnie into
success
doing it.
is going to lead
Of
to
course,
more
Don's probably
success,
got
because it seems to me like if
Don's
there's
probably got more
glitches
expertise
and
in it, I'd
problems,
say.
it tends to slow space travel down. If there's not, it tends to kind of get the ball rolling again.
You know, and
Getting
you
things
raise a
done that
good
way.
point, and this is one of
Yeah,
the things that
good.
I think we've learned our
Well,
lesson
good.
from that past. Back in the day, you know,
Oh,
I'm sure quarterback
we
decision
love
that we
you.
made.
We
I'll
all
just tell you
love you
that
to
when we
pieces.
had the various incidents
Love
that
you to pieces.
happened,
You see the
we
little,
did slow down things.
did you see the
You look
little
at
writing
what
on the
commercial
thing
space
when
has
you
done
looked
recently.
at it?
They've taken a different perspective. You know,
So
look, when we
sweet.
have
I thought this
policy, I hope that we continue not to do that. But then
Yeah,
have
they did a
setbacks.
good job,
And the
didn't they?
perspective they took was, hey, we just
Yeah.
keep going. So
I'm
Jim,
just going to interrupt you very quickly. We have the news conference at NASA. We're joining it live.
okay.
Yeah. Just so different. It's just unique. Pretty.
Continuing to test out every bit of
As
our
Jude says, it's Judy all over. I said, yep, you're right, Ed.
We can bring together genius from around the world.
Right. I'm gonna tell her that.
To innovate for the benefit of humanity and to inspire the world through this
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. It does, doesn't it? I know. Absolutely.
I don't understand what this call has to do with anything. Kimberly RSVP.
Yeah.
So,
No,
And we have
don't
three
even try it.
ships.
Let God do it. God or not each one of those two. He did that. I would feel guilty.
Confirmed.
I know, but I still feel guilty.
5:07 p.m. Pacific time.
The neighbors said that they heard them fighting almost every night, but not on
Jude said I shouldn't go today, and I wound up not going. I really wanted to go, but she was right because I'm totally exhausted. Then I stayed home and filmed the astronauts. I really, I think so too. It really was. It really was. I really felt good about it. It is It really is. No doubt. Oh yeah, absolutely. I love my pictures. Yeah. There I went into the office and Jude asked her,
Yesterday
would
we
you
were
mind
able to
taking a picture of that picture of Daniel?
put their lives behind our
Daniel
confidence.
Cameron for me?
And they did.
And he said, yes.
Yesterday,
I said, who's in the
told
picture?
you
He
that
said, well,
today
it's
we'll choose the
you
engineers
and his wife
technicians
and
who
him.
touched this machine,
And I said, oh, how
and it
wonderful.
does, and their work was good.
And I said, so
Welders in the chute,
if you don't mind taking a
joined the
picture
rocket,
and brought it out
technicians
to me and
Academy,
fixed it
climb
all right,
parachutes, stack
up
the
real
vehicles,
pretty,
stack the Ryan,
if
stack
I
the
get a chance, I
SLS,
might try to send that up
engineers
to
in
you.
Raymond, Torino, and across the Alliance built the service module, workers in Utah cast the boosters, teams at
I
Stennis
might
fired
have
the
to wait
engines,
till tomorrow.
flight controllers in this building in Houston set console for
But I'll
10
try to
days
send
straight.
you,
It's
try
outside
to
of
send you a
tonight,
copy of
6
the
miles
picture up
left
there.
and took the signal. Navy divers pulled the crew out of the Pacific in
Oh,
a
I
really
will.
incredible way.
I will. I feel like doing it.
And at 25,000 feet per second, it said the work was good. As we say in
Yeah,
our
I
business, physics
feel like
comes
doing
last.
it. Oh,
The families of the crew said this
I
weekend
love
went
my
back with
little
just joy,
sister
but also
Judy.
anxiety, wanting to get their
She
crew back
thinks
to their loved
all
ones
the
home safely. I was with
time
them
about all
tonight.
the
Our
people
family sat through those
that
6
she's
months, and their
prayed
courage is
for.
the same as the crew that
She's
just came
got
back.
Jesus in her heart
Yesterday,
and
Wonders and
all
Decorations
her
had
family
1,000
in her
crew
heart.
struggle to hit after
And
reportedly
she's
losing
always
members.
caring
Their
about
team has
everybody
found
else.
luck.
That's my
Tens of
little
thousands of people
Judy.
doing their jobs.
She's a
The all-weather
star for
crews works
sure
during the mission
in
are incredibly
Jesus' book.
inspirational. They
And
carried
in
the torch from
Jesus'
Apollo and crew
marking
stations
day
to discover
now.
the far side of the moon.
She's
Their words belong to them.
a
They take
beautiful
our
young
condolences to
lady
they're back
that
here
gives of
tonight.
herself to
Condolences to
others,
the team that built the
who
machine that
loves
they
her
were.
husband and
We
loves
talked
her
a lot
children
about
wherever
getting
they
our
are
faith
tonight.
into action is where
And
we
she
find
loves
the
her
way to get
Uncle
to
Johnny
action. What
and
stands
her
in the
Aunt
way
Judy
becomes the
and
way.
her kitties.
This program
And
takes
she
every
loves
obstacle and
all
institution
the
we
brothers
face.
and
The team
sisters
that each one
wherever they
tonight
are tonight.
let that
God
purpose
bless my
continue.
little Judy.
The
God
vehicle
lift
on their
her
surface is
spirits up
open, but the
and
work
let
ahead
her
is greater
have
than the
a
work behind
peaceful
us.
night
It all
and
results
enjoy
53 years
the
ago, we
fact
hit the 11th
that
moon.
she has
This time we return to stay.
a
Let us finish
beautiful
what they started. Let us focus on what's left
instrument to
undone. Let
hang
us not
up.
go to plant flags in
Love
cities,
her,
but to stay.
Judy.
With firmness in our purpose, with gratitude for the hands who built the machines, and with love for the
Yeah,
ones who be carried
that's
with
from
us.
my heart.
Welcome home, integrity. I'll hand it over
From
to
my
Dr.
heart.
Place.
Thank you so much, Amit. So we did it. We
I can't
sent
believe it myself.
amazing people to the moon and safely returned them to Earth for the first time
It's
in more than
Jesus.
50
I have to
years.
give credit
To the
to Jesus.
generation that now knows what was capable of, welcome to our
Yeah, he
moonshot.
does. I couldn't do
I want to
it. I
thank
couldn't
our
do any of the
entire
things that I
team
do that
across
are
this
positive
nation
like that
and around the world
without
who
the
gave
help of Jesus
every
and
ounce
prayer.
of ingenuity
And
and
the help of
effort
Miss
to make
Jude and the help of you. You
and
inspire
I'm
me.
so proud
And Mary Ruth even
of each and
inspires
every
me. I
one
don't
of
get
you,
a chance
what
to
you
talk to her much,
achieved
but she
over the last
inspires
10 days.
everybody else
Not much
inspired.
showing that ambitious goals are worth pursuing
I
came
know.
here,
I wish I
inspired
could
the
go down
world.
there and see her
We
in
are
Carrollton,
so
but
thrilled
I
to bring
can't drive
Victor,
anymore.
Christina, and Jeremy back here on Earth and safely aboard
Oh yeah, too
the
far for me
USS
to
John P.
go.
Marathon. Our team is fired up.
She
And
lives
this mission,
with
as
where
we've been
Mark
talking
lives.
about, is just
They're
the
kicking a
beginning.
trailer there. So I could get down there, but it's just too hard for me to do it.
This is
And then when I get down there, well, oh, it's
mission to the
in
moon.
Gallatin
And
County.
many more.
They're right on,
And we can't wait
when you're going down 27 highway,
to get to work
down
on the
to,
next
like if you're
missions
going
and to
toward
use our
Louisville,
surface
you
and
go down
bring
there
more
where
lives.
the racetrack is, on your left.
Thank you all for your continued
No,
interest
it's not that close. It's about
Truly
halfway.
spectacular day.
It's about, yeah, where she sings is at Carrollton. It's a little further. It's at Carrollton, at the Carrollton Walmart.
Completing their journey and
That's where
returning
she
safely.
sings. Yeah, she
New
works
stats for
about 4 days a week, I
Stephenson
think, what she's
Flight
working.
Dynamics Officer, Mission Control.
I know.
Integrity in her crew for astronauts flew 700,237 miles.
88, I think, or 89.
Peak velocity of 24,664 miles per hour. We
This
hit
is her
flight path
birthday.
angle target within 0.4%.
January,
We
I
flew an
wasn't
entry
sure.
range of 1,957 miles and we landed within less than a mile of our target. What a tremendous day. Over.
Yeah, Jim's probably on it. Yeah. I think Jim's got everybody down.
Thank
And
you, Rick.
yours is in August, right?
Control team, what an outstanding job. Wow, what a fantastic
Oh, yeah,
day.
Jim's so
I mean,
efficient.
we dreamed as a
Like,
team
good Lord,
of reaching
to
this
keep
day,
you
and
alive.
I appreciate Ahmed's comments. I mean, so many people have
Yes, no doubt in my mind about it.
I think this mission has been historic. It has
She-
demonstrated
Oh, I know she
for
does.
spacecraft.
She come here and put drops in my eyes before I called you.
Farther than any cruise
And
that
I have to have it in my eyes to be able to see. And so she put drops in. And so, and then I gotta get back up at 11 o'clock, which is not too far from me, yeah. Gotta get back up. And she changed my diaper at 11 o'clock. She changes the system, yeah, changes it all. And, she puts the pads are down on the bed where I'm laying, and she gets a bottle of water for me and the little container next to me that I've got in there. I keep my phone in there and keep my measure rate in there for my blood sugar. I woke up the other night and my blood sugar was down to 50, and that's very dangerous. So I had to get up and eat some things, go to the restroom and drink some things, and then sugar in them. And so, yeah, sometimes you take too much insulin and it goes that way. Yeah, it goes haywire. So, yeah, when it goes to down that low, you can pass out and just go into a coma, you know.
Thank you, Howard. What an incredible
Yeah,
end
right.
to an incredible mission. I gotta tell you, I think I'm trying to pick out the
Yeah.
best thing to happen today, and I'll just say that.
Well, that's right, yes, absolutely.
Getting ready for this press conference.
Yep, me too.
Howard gets a call from Reed Weiss with the commander of Integrity, and it was so great to hear his voice and tell us that all the crew is okay.
Yeah.
And we can say that we did our part.
Talk to the doctor.
We set out to do. I'm very
Gotta
proud
figure out what you gotta do, what you can't do, what you can do.
that supported the launch and recovery operations.
Gotta be aware of it.
Our Navy partners' work and dedication.
Oh, she knows everything, but far more better than I do.
Team did a great
But
job.
I know mine pretty well. I know I know the ones I have to take, so I have to be careful. Yeah, every night I take, every morning I probably take about 13 pills.
It's good to
And
be
then,
there.
plus insulin. And I take insulin twice a day, and I take about 13 pills, then I take, medicine for getting my bowels to move. I take a swig of vinegar apple cider.
And please limit to
And
one
then,
question if you can.
Then I
We'll
take,
start here with Joey.
little bowl of cereal with low carbs and low sugar, and then I take a little tangerine and grapes and one egg, cut in half, hard-boiled egg. That's what I take every morning for breakfast.
Second question, Joey, is soon.
Oh, I eat one a day. Well, we were on the farm, we had them out there with mom and dad.
Yeah, we saw that. We
And
saw
I
the
think
crew,
they're healthy for it.
a number of times after they got out of the
Steaks
space
are
and
healthy
we saw
for
the
it.
front porch.
My
Everybody was
neighbor
happy
has
and healthy.
their chicken.
I saw Victor as he
She
was
brings
sitting
us over
on the
eggs
edge of
from
the
there, and
helicopter
then I June
on the
gets
flight deck
eggs
of the ship,
from her
and
group
he
too.
was smiling and in good spirits, and everything you can hear from the surgeons is the flight crew is happy and healthy.
Well, she gets an egg for her. I keep she gets me an egg for her, and an egg for me.
Hi, Lauren Gretchen
Hey,
from the Congratulations
each
again.
egg keeps the doctors away, and then I have my
Such a
applesauce.
great mission to
I
watch
love my
the
applesauce.
If you hadn't encountered, I know this wasn't as late.
I love my
What would you say is the
applesauce.
issue that you
Sugar-free,
feel maybe the most grateful around during this mission so that you can
sugar-free applesauce.
Howard, why don't you take that?
Oh, why? That applesauce really helps me.
Learning about
Helps me,
how to operate a spaceship has been a really great learning experience.
what's it?
Flying and ability for them to test drive our spacecraft has been good. I think, as we mentioned previously, our pressure control
Geez, I
cell,
don't know about that.
where we discovered leakage through the system. I think we're learning
Regards, I don't eat that. I probably eat little tangerines.
we're going to go investigate that and look at that and move forward to make sure that
Huge oranges. Well, it's probably healthy for you. Vitamin C.
all the data
Oh boy, that's probably healthy for you.
Press Marcia done.
I'd say it is healthy
The
for you.
administrator described the crew as great communicators on those phones.
Yeah.
You know, this is
Well,
gonna be
see,
a
on
lot
my
better
cereal, I
than
don't put milk. I just
the
put
upcoming cruise
one of
that
the
soon
pod
we're
drinks
soon
with
gonna
only
get.
1 gram of sugar in it. That's what I use on my
Talk
cereal.
about this crew in particular and what they brought to this, that
Yeah, I
went
don't
beyond the
drink the milk.
scientific and the research and the engineering, please.
Yeah.
I'll just say that
Well, I don't
this
have it
particular
either.
crew, you know, they've
We used
gotten
to
to know
love
each
to
other
have it,
so
but
well.
it's
So
just,
each of them
everybody says
individually are
don't
just
drink it.
absolutely amazing
So I don't know
individuals.
why.
But they, as a group, you can
Well, I
watch
think
them
the
and
sugar
what they brought. You
main
watch
thing.
them in Orion over the last 10 days
Yeah.
operating.
I try to
Just
have, keep the
seamlessly
sugar
between the
down.
four of them. Just the
The
teamwork,
sugar can get out of the
camaraderie,
kid
just,
real
I
easy.
think
It's
they
not
really
careful.
brought an amazing sense of what we're trying to achieve with this mission. It's the mission for all humanity, a mission for all, and they really did represent that and tried to communicate that. I do know that our entire national
Oh,
chorus
yeah, I think that's
spectacular, so I
healthy
have
for you.
no doubt that the next teams will also
That's healthy.
rise to this role.
Yeah. Well, what I do is June fixes, normally it's
Jackie Waddles, CNN.
by,
Congratulations.
oh, one gram of sugar in
I'm really
the,
anxious to
in one
hear
of my
what
pod
the
drinks, you know.
blackout during reentry was
And,
like for you.
Then
I
she
also just
uses that
wanted
as my milk
to, you know, that splash down
in my
target
cereal.
figure
But I
has
don't
been a
have a big
while
bowl of
now.
cereal.
It's incredible.
Not too big.
Can you walk us through
And then there's some
anything?
special cereal that I get from
Ordinary. I
Kroger
know we heard on
that has
comms there were
very
some
little
sensor
sugar
issues
in
just
it.
for entry interface. Just curious to hear more about that.
Maybe 4
Thanks.
grams of sugar
Sure. So, you know,
in the,
blackout,
in the cereal.
there's really no being around the
But,
question. You know, it's
yeah, but then
it's
a
a
small
difficult
bowl of
time
cereal.
because the flight control team wants to see data.
Yeah.
We want to look at the data. We want to be able to provide
Yeah.
input to the flight crew on how to fly their spaceship.
Well,
When
it's,
we don't have data.
hang on a second. Hey, Jude, what kind of cereal is that you got for me?
But we knew when blackout was going to start. It started when we expected. We knew when it was going to end. It ended when we
Premier
expected.
Protein,
And
it's
so
called.
that gave us the trust that the
Premier,
spaceship was flying itself
Premier
correctly.
Protein.
As far as some of the cautions.
And how many grams of sugar was it for?
The prop cautions, they were.
I think she said
we think
4
that,
too.
again, that was learning.
Not asking her that, but she gets that.
Limits are set in the
That's
we
what
probably should have had them set.
that's supposed to be the best thing
Disposition
for
was
it.
moved on.
So,
As far as the
who
comms
knows?
post-landing, we don't quite know what was going on there.
And I drink a little
We
swig,
had comms with
a
the
shot
team,
of,
and we safely handed over the mission authority at the right time.
what's called, it's called a shot of vinegar,
Really excited to
vinegar, apple cider vinegar. A shot of apple cider vinegar every morning.
It was great to see them.
That burns your throat a little bit, but it's good for
They
you.
were set to do an emergency egress.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah. Apple cider vinegar, just one shot. I drink it first thing in the morning before I eat any other thing.
I'm not familiar with the
Well, my flights
emergency
or
egress
something.
test post-landing.
If they say it's best if you take it.
Discussion, then number one, well, what's to get the flight crew out of the spaceship as
Yeah, I
fast as
think
you
it helps
can?
kill my appetite
Looking
a
at
little
any
bit.
post-landing objectives.
Yeah, we did do, we were.
I'm down to 306 pounds
We did
now.
an emergency egress, but.
306 pounds.
It's
Well, I hope you get up a little more. You could use a little more. Yes.
Eric Carter, our
Well, bless your
technical
heart. Well, I better let you go.
I know it's really hard.
Mission.
You said the,
Hey, Andrew, we love you, love you, love you.
can you talk about sort of
Oh, so tickled to do it, tickled to do it. Have a great day.
for and building new base.
Okay, sounds good. We love you, love you. Bye-bye. Tell everybody I said hello. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Pre-up through the workforce to 50 years of not being back to the moon behind us.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, flight cadence and iteration is the key to reliability and safety. You know, we were waiting to fly this mission for several years. A lot of that was because of the issues we saw here in Artemis 1 and making sure we did that the right way. And we tried to make sure the machine was perfect before we flew it. But the real way to do that is to keep iterating, to keep flying, keep learning, keep getting data in the flight environment. So that piece of how routine is the architecture and then demanding that higher cadence is going to be, I would say, mandatory for us to be successful. We need that muscle memory to exist. We need the data to keep coming in. We need to be able to quickly iterate and change the machine as we learn from it. Everything we learn from Artemis 2, we're going to get right after. But I would say it's essential.
Okay, Irene. Irene, thoughts with Aviation Week and Space Technology for Omnet. What do you think will be your biggest challenge to ensure that this mantle and responsibility of inheriting what Apollo did does not end like Apollo?
I think we've talked about this a little bit before. You know, the architects of Apollo, Dorothy von Braun, Siemens, Miller, what they really wanted to do when they were given the challenge of expanding the range of action to the moon was to learn to live and work in space for a long time. They wanted to do that first. I talked a little bit about this with Rob earlier. I think, you know, and of course, because of the nature of the environment they were in.
I love you, Hud.
They were in a race. They achieved their objectives, their geopolitical as well as technological. But once it was done, it was done. And I think there was the foundation they wanted to build on is what we went to afterwards. So we wanted to, you know, investigate reusability with shuttle. We did that. We wanted to learn to live in space for a long time.
Yeah, you're taping it, aren't you?
We've got to that point now.
Oh, why not, Hud?
So now it's interesting, I think, where we are with the program.
You asked if you could tape it for
We
me.
decided to go do that to actually enable the system.
Oh, okay. Thank God.
And work there for a long time.
Yeah,
You know, it's a weird irony of history that
Oh,
it
it's
took that
okay.
long for us to do that, but we weren't sitting idle on that happened. We developed the capability to have an enduring presence, you know, in space, and now we're going to take advantage of that now that we've reached back to the moon.
Okay, we'll take one in the room from Ken Chang, and then we'll go take several from the phone.
Ken Chang from our times, I guess for Rick and everybody else. Can you talk about what the last 13 minutes were like? There had to be some anxiety, and what was the moment where you could finally relax? And when did you start celebrating in mission control?
Certainly there's anxiety. If you didn't have anxiety bringing the spacecraft home, you probably would have false. You know, we were, I want to trust my team. We've got, we went all flight controllers in the room on entry day, went through a rigorous training process, and they are the system experts on their respective part of the spacecraft. And so while there's anxiety, there's a lot of confidence because the team is there to do a job. We've trained well and we executed well. We all breathed a sigh of relief once the sun had opened up. That's when we brought the team in, we said a few words to the flight controllers, and then we turned around to the families, waved to the families, and gave a thumbs up, and we all watched as a flight control team as each of the 4 astronauts got out of the spaceship and were hoisted up onto the helicopters. It was a great day.
which means we don't have enough to keep them in custody. You were right
Okay,
to
we'll
look
take
at
several
Rachel
questions from the
Lewis.
phone now.
Don't
The
get us
first one is from Micah
started.
Maidenberg with the Wall Street Journal.
I have so many hats to like size.
Hey, good evening. Question for Lori or Howard. I know it's very, very early here, but any initial thinking about the heat shield performance relative to Artemis 1? And can you walk through how the heat shield will be assessed in the coming weeks and months? Thanks so much.
So I'll just start and then I'll hand it over to Howard. How's that? So, you know, initially we gathered a lot of data already. Certainly you saw there were aircraft that were positioned in order to do some imagery and collect data. So we've got some of those data that can be analyzed in the coming days and weeks. We also had divers below the surface that took imaging of the heat shield before it was brought onto the MRSA, so that we could understand exactly what state it's in after it landed. And so I think we've already begun the data gathering piece of it. I'm sure there'll be more assessments once we get on the ship. And then Howard, why don't you talk kind of what the next steps are?
Yeah, we already have two of our heat shield experts on board the ship, and so when we get the crew module into the well deck, and we'll do some inspections right off the bat. Like Lori said, we've got underwater divers that are taking pictures, and then after that, once we've inspected that on the ship, we'll transfer back to Kennedy Space Center. We'll have opportunity to look in detail and do scans of the heat shield, and we have a lot of good data from that. We also captured a lot of great imagery. Obviously, we haven't had time to digest all that data, but we will in the next several days, and make sure we understand if there's anything that happened that was anomalous. But we're very excited. The team is very excited to get that data, both the imagery and seeing it live in person.
Next up is Jackie Mogensen with Scientific American.
Hi, for this. I wanted to follow up on one of the earlier questions about the astronauts. I was curious if it might be possible to tell us a little bit more if we know about what the astronauts will be doing in their first days back on Earth, you know, what their first meal might be, or activities with their family. Thanks so much.
Well, the top priority is going to be to get them promptly back to their families here in Houston. As far as the specifics, I'm sure each of the crew members has something special planned with their families, and that'll be the priority, is for them to take some time and spend with their loved ones.
Yeah, I'm not sure we answered it, but we do anticipate them arriving back here in Houston 12 to 24 hours after splashdown. So that would be between 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening tomorrow.
Next on the phone is Jeff Faust with Space News.
Good evening. I wonder if you can talk through what the processing of the Orion spacecraft is going to be now that it's back. What point do you sort of extract all of the lessons learned from the mission and start applying them to Artemis 3 in order to have that mission ready to go launch in about a year's time? Thanks.
Yeah, you know, we will have what we call a quick initial 30-day report that we'll put together. Every team will be doing their due diligence and analyzing all the data we have. The crew module will get transported back to Kennedy Space Center. Sean's team, Exploration Ground Systems, is going to decontaminate the vehicle in terms of the propulsion system has hydrazine, and so we'll be working through that. In the meantime, we'll be pulling hardware off the boat in parallel with other activities, and when we get back to Kennedy Space Center, we've got about 286 components we're going to reuse in future missions already, and then we're going to look at other components and determine if we can reuse those as well. A lot of work, not only on the hardware flow, but also all the analysis of the data we're going to need going forward to learn from this mission and carry forward for Artemis 3 and beyond.
How dare you?
Okay, we'll take one more from the phone and then come back here into the room. The next question is from Richard Trudeau with Orlando Sentinel.
Hi, thanks again for taking the time. This is another question for Howard. For Artemis 3, the docking system that you have to do with Blue Origin and/or SpaceX, is that at what point would that system be sort of in place on the new capsule? And I guess for Amit, how are your two contractors progressing towards having something that can actually go stay on your timeline? Thanks.
Okay, I'll start with our docking system. Our docking system is ready to go. it's already been qualified. We've already got the flight unit at Kennedy Space Center. Later this summer, we'll integrate it on top of the crew module. And we've done a lot of testing already, so the final part is actually the mechanical mating of the docking hatch and the docking mechanism itself. And so we have a standard way of doing dockings in space that we expect Blue Origin and SpaceX to work with us on and accomplish that mission.
Yeah, and as far as the other part, I think yeah, we're in a massive test campaign. We've got a huge test coming up of the Blue Origin Mark 1 lander, which will be the kind of smaller version of the lander they want to use to attempt the landing missions. There's going to be a test flight of that this year. We also have the test of the Block 3 Starship and Super Heavy, which is coming up hopefully in a few weeks here. So, you know, every day in this program, we're going to be testing big machines, and we're just going to keep getting side by side with them to help them make progress.
Okay, Jackie, and then we'll come back to the other side of the room.
Thank you, Jackie Goddard for the Times of London. My question is for Howard. As a little boy, you were inspired by Star Wars. I wondered if today is better for you than Star Wars, and for future space travelers looking back at today, what should they see as being the significance? Thank you.
Wow, you might be watching my old interviews or something, but I would say 1,000, I don't know what the number is, thousands of times better. You know, I would say that I shared a moment with my father. He took me to see Star Wars. He's not alive today. I wish he was, because that little kid who saw and was inspired by the stars, and now we're able to send our crew out to the stars, the farthest any humans have been. I mean, I can't even express just how I feel and the goosebumps I have. And I would say that for all the kids out there, I mean, just pursue the dreams. I can't say any better than the crews. You know, I tell my kids also, pursue what you're passionate about. And my passion is a space program. My passion is NASA. And I was able to accomplish that today, and hopefully many more days going forward. But you have an opportunity to do what you are passionate about. And hopefully those kids who are in love with human spaceflight, in love with going to the stars, will be inspired by us, especially by our crews. And come join NASA, come work for us. We got a lot of missions ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Ariel Mutsatzos from Televisa Univision. The only mission until today that for which the communications blackout lasted 6 minutes was Apollo 13, if I am not mistaken. Today's lasted 6 minutes, around 6 minutes. Does that say anything about the design of the ship, or what is the reason behind that? And also, very quickly, can we see a Hispanic in one of the next missions of Artemis? Thank you very much.
As far as the duration of the blackout, a lot of that that's just dictated by the physics of the approach trajectory. You know, the Orion spacecraft, when you get enveloped by plasma that's thousands of degrees, the radio frequency of the antennas just can't shoot through that. You know, on the space shuttle, we were lucky we had the tail, and we had an antenna up on the tail, and it took us a while to figure that out. That was a way to keep calm. For Orion, it was 6 minutes, but it was predicted, and it played out exactly as we predicted. So that just gave us confidence that it was flying the way it was supposed to.
Hi, thank you, Will Robinson-Smith with Spaceflight Now, and congratulations again tonight. A question for Rick. The whole flight operations team has been exceedingly busy throughout the course of this mission, in preparation for this mission. I imagine there will be a little bit of breathing room now that the crew is back safely on Earth, but when do you kind of get the band back together to start prepping for Artemis 3, and will it be the same complement of flight directors that we saw for Artemis 2? Thank you.
Well, you're right that the next mission is right around the corner, and we'll take the lessons learned from Artemis 2. We learned a bunch on how to fly people in space, both from a vehicle operations, but also from how to run a control room with a deep space mission. And when the time is right, we'll get back into flight specific training. And we've got a core group of about 30 flight directors, and they're all extremely capable. And I think anybody who's assigned to that next mission is going to be as successful as the three of us, myself, Judd, and Jeff.
Yes, we'll take you.
Tom Clark with Sky News. Congratulations on a very successful mission. Amit, you spoke yesterday of there only being irrational fears. I wonder if you succumbed to any, and if so, what they were. But more after such a successful test flight, how much of a boost is this to NASA's confidence in its wider mission to stay on the moon?
For the campaign, this is a huge step, for us to build confidence, not just in our understanding of how this machine performs, but just that this organization can rise to the standard of qualifying a vehicle like this for crewed flight. I think that's huge. It took a lot of discipline and a lot of changes between Artemis 1 and now to get there, and the team really rose to the equation. These folks here, they did a tremendous job of instilling the amount of discipline and rigor and belief in the qualification standards to make sure this is going to work. And so to me, that was almost the biggest objective of this mission, was to prove to ourselves that we could move to crewed flight, but maintain the same level of risk knowledge and understanding, but also really focus on what that looks like. To your point, it is when you fly the crew, when you fly any crew, you can be paralyzed. You can almost be paralyzed by risk, because you become so close to them. You understand what's at stake when you with the families. You understand what's at stake. But the crew knows this, and we have to do it too. But organizationally, understand that what we do is we take calculated risks, and that it's going to take risks to explore. But you have to make sure you find the right line between being paralyzed by it and being able to manage it and bound it the right way.
Okay, Andrea. And then after that, we'll come to Michael, and then take several on the phone.
Andrea Leinfelder of the Houston Chronicle. This question's for Rick. I enjoyed seeing the flight controllers storm into a white flight control room, and I was just wondering, were those the controllers from the back room? Were there people who were off duty who just couldn't be away? And why was it important to open the room to them and to let more of the Houston workforce celebrate that moment? Thanks.
That was anybody. I made a call out to anybody who had worked the mission, no matter what shift or what room you were sitting in, to come into the room and just soak in the moment with the rest of the operations team. They all deserved it. They worked tremendously hard, both pre-flight and during the mission, and it was a time for us to celebrate together before celebrating outside of that room.
Okay, Michael.
Hi, Michael Atkinson, Houston Public Media. Congratulations again. My question is also for Rick. I think that we've asked the crew several times if they felt the weight of this moment, and I'm curious if you felt, or your other flight directors felt the weight of this. That as you were going through all this, you're like, this is what Gene Kranz felt. This is what Chris Kraft felt. Did you ever feel that moment?
There were a couple of times where you have a lull in that shift, and you can kind of sit back in your seat and just look out the window. I do that at ISS a lot when I work down the hall working in Figure 1. You just enjoy the view. As I worked early in the mission on the planning shift, the moon was getting bigger and bigger, and it was fun to just sit and watch the moon get bigger. And then as we worked on the entry -1 day shift yesterday, and then on the entry shift, it was fun to watch the Earth get bigger. And it was fascinating to watch orbital mechanics take over. And in the last day when I took the console, I think we were, earlier this morning, I think we were over 50,000 miles away from Earth. And we made up that last 50,000 miles in the last 8 hours. And it's a fun job to do.
All right, we'll take several questions from the phone. We have Anthony Leone with Spectrum News.
It's Anthony Leone with Spectrum News. Thank you so much for taking our questions. This is certainly a historic moment. NASA's kicked off the return of humans visiting the moon. How does it feel to write this new chapter in our history book?
I have to tell you, my background is in planetary science, and I was an active planetary scientist for a couple of decades. I had this incredible honor to come over and work with the human space spaceflight side of NASA and the team that have put this together. But as someone who has been interested in what we can do in exploring the moon and going beyond low Earth orbit, I think the weight of this mission and just how incredibly impactful it is that we have actually achieved this. You know, during our lifetimes here, we have done this, right? You know, when I was, Apollo was when I was a child, and to be here now and say we actually did this, we've gone back and we're going to go build a moon base. We are going to have an enduring presence on the moon. Just incredibly powerful.
The next question is from Manuel Masanti with Exploración Espacial.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to everyone. Manuel Masanti with Exploración Espacial. You know, NASA showed one more time that space is a unifying force around the world with a crew that connected so well with people that doesn't matter which country. How important was, for anyone in the panel, how important was this mission for the agency and for the future of the Artemis program?
It's the most important human spaceflight mission I think we've done in many decades, in terms of what it meant historically, but also what it means for the future of the agency. We've talked before about, for many folks, this is the end of a long journey working on these machines, and for a lot of our workforce, it's just the beginning. But it is definitely an inflection point for all of us. So it's hard to understate, you know, just how incredibly valuable it is to the entire team.
Let's go here to Zach.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations, Zachary Albert with the Launchpad from Canada. Ahmed, if you could send a message to NASA in 50 years, we've taken a lot looking back at the last 50. What would you say to the administration and the NASA then, when hopefully we've become a multiplanetary species? And for each of you, is there a word or a quick phrase on how you hope the history books classify this mission that started us going back?
You know, it's a couple weeks ago, I was with the administrator. We were doing a different event, and we were talking about how we were really going to make choices and you know, and change our focus towards the moon, towards building a moon base, towards doing incredible things again. And right before he and I walked up on stage, he turned to me and he said, you know, at some point people are going to look back at what we were doing, and we're going to be like those guys that were hogging out logs to cross lakes just to see if we could do it. And then, you know, in the future, people are going to look back at us and go, wasn't that quaint, and isn't that interesting how they did that? But I mean, that's kind of where I think this is going to land in the grand scheme of things. You know, we of course, Apollo achieved amazing things. We've done amazing things since then, but this, I think, is going to be an important step, and hopefully history is kind to us as a result.
Okay, Stephen, did you have one? TJ?
TJ Mascaro with the Epoch Times. Thank you all so much, and congratulations again. My question is about the two backups. You know, they've trained for this mission themselves all the way. I'm not trying to ask if they're going to be on, trying to get you to tell me if there are Artemis 3 or not, but can you tell me a little bit more about their fate? Because during Apollo, it seemed that the backup crew of one mission was slated to be the prime crew of a later mission.
So both Jenny and Andre were part of this crew in every way. They trained with them. They were in the White Room when they were closing it out. They were with them. The families were together. Jenny was with us in the interviewing room today, so they're part of this crew. And I'll leave it at that.
Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Allison McGraw from Mysterious Meteorites. Given the crew's successful demonstration of the 4K video stream with the laser comms, will there be another test of this? And what does this mean for TRL readiness level for, say, a planetary spacecraft mission? Thank you.
I think we've had an incredible demonstration of the optical communications and the 4K video streaming that was just fantastic. I think we've really shown that this is an amazing capability that we'd certainly like to implement in the future. So we'll have to see how that works and see how we can make that happen.
Just to point out that we have actually closed an optical link for much further.
Yes, we have, from Mars.
So
Yep.
so we're working on that.
Mars distance.
Okay, we'll come around here. Just need to wait for the mic to make its way over.
Hi, thank you again for doing this, and again, congrats on just such an amazing mission. Thanks for Space Scout here. And I just had a quick question. We've seen some really incredible imagery throughout the course of this mission. It's been great, to get that downlinked quickly with the laser. And I'm curious how much of that imagery that was taken during the mission on board has been downlinked, and how much of that still remains on the spacecraft to be recovered later. Thank you.
I don't happen to know the official stats, but we can certainly follow up with you at a later date.
I do know that Reed had made the comment that even though they sent back quite a bit, that the stuff they have with them is pretty amazing. So once we get it off the physical media on the vehicle, hopefully we'll be able to get it to you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll get all those SD cards, we'll get them all downloaded. And of course, all of the imaging that was required on Monday, that was the science imaging, all of that will be made available through the planetary data system and, archived.
Okay, we'll take a few more from the phone. Next is Alejandro Turnbull with Space Scout.
Hi, congratulations everyone on a fantastic mission. Question for Rick. As the spacecraft was descending under parachute, we saw in the infrared camera some plumes emanating from the vehicle that looked like either venting or thruster firing. Just wondering if you could speak a little to what the spacecraft was doing and what exactly caused those plumes. Thank you.
Yeah, not knowing the video that you're referring to, I would imagine that's probably the spacecraft reorienting itself. When we're on our main parachutes, we do a reorientation to ensure that the most robust structural portion of the spacecraft contacts the water first. And so I suspect that the plumes you were seeing were the crew module reaction control system thrusters firing.
The next question is from David Denault with About Space Today News.
First, I'd like to say not congratulations, but I think this is just one of the most spectacular missions NASA has ever accomplished. And a lot of people compare this to Apollo 8. And I can tell you there is no comparison to what has been done with the Orion spacecraft and the technology from our European Space Agency partners. I was there at the beginning of Apollo 8. I probably was broadcast journalist today. But my question to each of you, what was your wow moment?
Yeah, let's start with Mr. Quinn. You're kind of lonely over there.
I didn't hear the question.
Just pick an awesome thing.
Being the guy from the Kennedy Space Center, the launch was a pretty special day. To see all those umbilicals clear the vehicle clear the tower, and have that rocket rise off the pad was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
All right. I know Victor always says touchdown, getting onto the water. For me, the greatest moment was the parachutes. The main chutes deploying. I think seeing that, I was chanting "Go, go, go" by myself. Somebody shot a video of that. I think I was going crazy, but I just kept saying that as the drogues came out, but when the mains came out and they started slowly inflating, I mean, that was just a tremendous moment. Like I said, objective number one is get the crew home. And I know there's all kinds of things that can happen after that, but having those mains and getting the vehicle to 16 miles per hour from 24,600 miles per hour is pretty amazing. And getting those chutes down was a great moment.
I'm going to vote for the naming of the two craters. That's my top moment.
I know it's all still fresh, so for me, I'm probably going to say two things. When the crew, when Reed reported back, 4 crew breathing after splashdown, that's what we hope for, right? So that was pretty awesome. And then when we saw Christina come out of the capsule, then I was like, okay, we're here.
Okay, we'll take. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll be tomorrow when I see my friends again.
All right, one more from the phone and then back into the room. So the phone question will come from Russell Pounds from Pacific Rim Media.
Hi, this is Russell calling from Alaska today.
Congratulations to us. I'll tell you, there were tears of joy in the room here when we were watching. My question is about logistics. I'm thinking about all of the moving parts it takes to bring food, power, telecom, and so forth on a complicated mission. What were some of the logistics lessons learned that might be useful to organizations back here on Earth?
Yeah, I think it starts with it's incredibly challenging to get to plan for a mission like this. Even though Orion's such a big spacecraft, making sure we have everything we need. We count through contingencies. We lose systems sometimes. We worry about that. We want to make sure we have everything ready to go. I will tell you though that just having thought about this for a while, the logistics of flying a 10-day mission, even this far away, pales in comparison to the logistics of keeping crew on the space station constantly going. So I would say that a lot of our logistics learnings have been derived from that. That's not just consumables and water and gas, etc., but it's also thinking about the reliability of the systems and when they're going to fail. It's hard to predict sometimes. How to do that, sparing the machine and making sure we have everything pre-positioned in the event that we have failures. That comes from a lot of learning, both pre-flight and in-flight. And so, but in-space logistics is going to be a huge challenge for us going forward as we really contemplate a moon base, but hopefully we'll be able to feed forward, lessons from obviously this mission, but I think for Space Station Together as we build that moon base.
Okay, we'll take a few more here in the room. We'll go in the middle there.
Hi, Jishni Nair, Houston Business Journal. Echoing congratulations on a great mission. While we were following along, we had a lot of voices from the space industry, especially here in Houston, kind of chime in and express their support and as well. And I know that a lot of those companies are working on specific NASA proposals or submissions, but in general, how would you say you'd like to see the industry kind of respond to the kind of achievement that NASA has done here and hopes to continue with Artemis?
I'll take the first stab on that one. How I'd like to see industry respond is to take this as not just the inspiration, but the challenge. You've heard that we really want to speed up our cadence and be able to return our crew back to space within a year and to the surface of the moon in 2 years. In fact, hopefully land on the moon twice in 2028. In order to do that, we're not going to be able to do that alone. We need all of industry to work and come along with us, and they need to accept that challenge and come with us and really start the production lines that are going to be required in order to achieve that goal.
Okay, let's hear in the White House.
Hi, JJ Love with Tech Talk Media. I just have some words of recognition for you all and the entire Artemis team. What you have done this week is remind the people of Earth that wonder is worth chasing, that curiosity is not a luxury, it is the most human thing we have. You didn't just test a spacecraft, you tested mankind's potential and carried all of us with you in the process. Every kid who looked up at the moon this week did it differently because of you. People who needed something to believe in found it in that splashdown tonight. So thank you, not just for the data, and not just for the mission, but for proving that the pursuit of what's possible is still alive and well. We are so grateful.
Thank you for that.
Very well said. Thank you for that. I would tell you that, for everybody listening, this is the taxpayers' program. People paid for this. The people invested in this. They invested in all of the things that we do, and so we're grateful for the support.
Okay, we'll take a couple more questions and then we'll go ahead and wrap. We have one here and then further back.
Hello, congrats. Emily Martin from Saturday's Best Friends. Reed Wiseman addressed a shout out to the ESM right after it separated from Orion, saying that it powered their journey on the moon with perfection. I was wondering what comments you might have on the performances of the ESM and on the future of that collaboration with Europe.
Yeah, I would say that the European Service Module in general performed as expected. I know we learned a little bit about the pressurization system, and we'll work on that. But overall, really great part of our spacecraft. Really appreciate our European partnership. We do have continued partnership with them for Artemis 3, 4. We're building ESN 5 as well, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward.
All right, we'll take one final question.
Hi there, Chelsea Torres with Fox. Again, congratulations on a historic mission. Again, test flight, and one thing that we are as humans are explorers. And so I'm curious if you're able to kind of talk about this. During lunar flyby, we saw the excitement not just from the crew, but also from everyone in mission control. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you, whether it was the Terminator, the certain pictures and data, anything at all that you can speak to that maybe you didn't know before about the lunar surface, our planet, space itself, that you'd like to speak about? Thank you.
I'm just going to call out the one thing that I thought was truly unique about this mission. I mean, certainly there's a ton of new things that we've done with having our crew observe far side of the moon and being able to observe these features after their incredible training. But I'll tell you, the one thing that really stands out to me is being able to watch our crew observe an eclipse. By having the moon passing between their spacecraft and the sun. That was a totally unique experience, and something that I was so proud that we could all participate and travel along with them and experience that moment.
All right, that's all the time we have today. Thank you very much to our participants today and to all of you for following along. You can find the latest information about our missions on nasa.gov, and hopefully soon information about
the news conference there at the Johnson Space Center. Clearly, NASA is very proud of the Artemis 2 mission, and they should be. This thing was successful from liftoff to splashdown. We believe that the astronauts are still on board. The ship that was out there to greet them after splashdown, we are waiting for word that they will leave on a helicopter and probably go to San Diego to catch a flight and then go to Houston. Meantime, we'd like to bring in the panel, spacecraft structural analyst and prospective astronaut Dylan Dickstein, former NASA astronaut Jose Hernandez, and former NASA chief astronaut Chris Cassidy. Chris, you're new to the panel. I just want to get your take on what you think about this, because clearly the people at the Johnson Space Center could not be more excited about how this thing turned out.
Oh, it's amazing. And Jose, great to see you, by the way. We're astronaut classmates together. And it's so fun to watch this whole week unfold. But today was a huge part of the risk that had to get put behind in terms of data collection and, of course, astronaut safety with the correct functioning of the heat shield and the reentry profile and all that. To see that happen, to hear Reed's voice at the conclusion of that 6-minute comm drop, see good parachutes, to see the boats pull up. I'm a Navy guy myself. To see Navy ships and Navy sailors swarming all over that thing and bring it back to the safety, and to see what it's done to our nation. So many people excited to be part of this, to watch the astronauts go through this mission. It's just really, really super cool. Everything about it, and it's laying the groundwork for a whole bunch of more of the same thing that's coming in the coming years. Just wonderful time.
Yeah, it really is. And in fact, one of the quotes, and one of the great quotes from the press conference is, "Let us not go to plant flags and leave. Let us go to stay," Jose Hernandez, because that's a good, I mean, that's kind of the goal. And at the very end, you had one of the team members saying, listen, we want to go Artemis 3 next year, maybe 2 flights to the moon in 2028. So there is clearly some excitement and momentum.
Yes, that is the plan. And then after those first 2 missions, we're going to go on a continuous basis and build a lunar base for long duration stays for astronauts. And this is going to be not just a NASA effort. NASA is inviting other countries to participate. They're inviting private companies to contribute in terms of technology development. And the whole goal is that we're going to use the lunar base as a test bed to be able to try out technologies that we know we need to be able to go to Mars and beyond. So we're not just saying the sun's at, the moon's a final destination. It's going to be basically a stepping stone to get us to Mars and beyond.
Yeah, you talk about a stepping stone. This was a big stepping stone here, Dylan, because, you know, the numbers, and people are going to remember these numbers. This thing traveled Artemis 2, 252,000 miles, 766. 252, 766 miles farther than anyone has gone ever.
Right. And all that space in the middle, you've already put in all your energy to get yourself going as fast as you need to go, and all you need to get a little further is time.
Yeah, time. There it is. And Chris Cassidy, you know, when I was listening to the news conference, everyone was congratulatory, and it was this, you know, it was this whole thing where it really is kind of this American pride thing. Somebody said earlier that it's an international pride thing. I'm not really sold on that, but certainly it's an American pride point, and I think this is something that we can build on. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. There's a certain degree of just overwhelming sense of I'm doing something meaningful for the nation. When you put on a flight suit, when you put on a spacesuit, you look down, you see your nation's flag on the shoulder, and then you're doing something that advances the mission for the nation, but really the international cooperation that does exist. So really special to see Jeremy fly. As a Canadian guy, he's waited 17 years for his first mission. Really cool to see that happen. But what it does
I guess I gotta get
is
up.
really unique, though. The economic value in the local areas where we have companies.
Well, I'm going to say good night, folks. Travels with Dr. John Stephenson.
There's this intangible aspect.
It was a late night.
How it brings the nation
Did all I
together,
could do
and
to
this
get
week has
as
been
best
an
for you as I
example.
could.
It has
Thank you
indeed.
now.
And Jose Hernandez wanted to get your take because, you know,